currencies and FOREX, foreign exchange session. We'll cover talking about money at an advanced level. We'll start with coins and notes and then look at international currencies. We'll practice expressing large numbers and very small monetary amounts, small prices. Now there's a lot of vocab and of course some very formal finance world terminology, but also some common expressions and idiomatic phrases and collocations that we use every day. Most importantly, we'll make sure that you can avoid making mistakes and that you understand all the different phrases and words and vocab and jargon that you might hear on TV or in podcasts or in meetings. Now, let's run through some of the key currencies, certainly for the English-speaking world. And here you can listen to the pronunciation and the way that we say these currencies. Now, of course, every currency has a symbol and a ticker code, an ISO code. And we started with the pound sterling. GBP is the pound sterling, and this, of course, is for Great Britain and the United Kingdom. Then we have the US dollar, and of course the dollar is used to represent currency in many countries around the world. So we often make it clear when we're talking about the US dollar, the American dollar, that we use the code USD. Indeed, we can see that we then have the Australian dollar, AUD. Then there's the South African Rand, ZAR is the code for the South African Rand. Back to another dollar, we have the Canadian dollar, CAD for the Canadian dollar. Then, of course, the euro, EUR is the ISO code for the euro. INR is the code for the Indian rupee. JPY is the code for the Japanese yen, for the yen currency in Japan. CHF is the code for the Swiss franc, the franc that's used in the country of Switzerland, which often uses the abbreviation CH to represent Switzerland. So CHF is the Swiss franc. In China, things are a little bit more complicated because you have the yuan, CNY, with the code CNY, and the renminbi, with the code RMB. And these are largely interchangeable, although it seems that the yuan is more aligned with the definition of the unit, and the renminbi is closer defined as the currency. There are also, of course, cryptocurrencies, the most common of which right now, at the time of recording, is called Bitcoin. So cryptocurrencies also have a role to play in this list of currencies. So a currency is the money that you can spend in a certain country. We sometimes say it's that country's legal tender. In actual fact, it's possible to have more than one legal tender in a country. So there may be 2 or even 3 currencies which are accepted in shops and banks in that country. And each currency has various units and denominations. So various units, and for currencies, for money, we call these denominations. And prices are expressed in these units. So for example, in Great Britain, we have the pound, right? The pound sterling. And it has a code, an ISO code, or a market code, or a ticker code of GBP, Great Britain pounds. And of course it has the symbol, the famous pound symbol that you all recognize. And this £1 unit is the basic denomination. And we can go further and say, look, there are 100 pence to a pound. Now in the USA, of course, there are 100 cents in a dollar. We can say 100 cents to a dollar, or we can say there are 100 cents in a dollar. Or we can say 100 cents makes $1, right? In the Eurozone, for example, in Ireland, that's an English-speaking country, of course, that is in the Eurozone, we can say there are 100 cents to a euro. 100 euro cents or 100 cents to a euro, or there are 100 cents in a euro. Or we can say 100 euro cents equals 1 euro. So let's get back to Great Britain, to the Great Britain pound, the pound sterling. And we said there are 100 pence to a pound. So 100, this small unit, the smallest denomination is the 1p coin, right? 1 pence. The actual coin is called a penny. So we can say it's 1 penny. We sometimes say, I don't have 2 pennies to rub together, right? That if you're very, very poor, then you don't have 2 penny coins. But when we talk about the value of the money, we generally talk about pence. So pence is kind of like a plural or a value version of the word penny. So we talk about 2 pence, 50 pence, 72 pence, maybe £5.37. We also abbreviate this just with the letter P, right? So 50p, 72p. And these coins, these small metal tokens, the coins, we call this change. And like I said, the denominations you can have are 1p and 2p. So these we would call the copper coins or coppers. Then 5p, 10p, 20p and 50p coins, or pieces we sometimes say, a 10p piece, a 50p piece. These are generally silver coloured, so we sometimes call these the silver coins. Then there's a £1 coin, which is actually composed of 2 colours, nickel and brass. And then, of course, we have the banknotes. In the US, you often hear the word bill, a bill for a banknote. Most commonly, we just say a note. And for the Great Britain pound, the available notes are a £5 note, a £10 note, a £20 note, and a £50 note. So the legal tender of a country has several denominations, some in coin form and some in note form. And all of this together, of course, in everyday language, we call cash, right? So what does the word cash mean? Well, in everyday language, it means the coins and the notes in your pocket and in your wallet. Now, you've probably come across the financial meaning or accountancy or banking meaning of the word cash, which is a little bit different. So what does cash mean if you see it on an asset sheet or on a balance sheet, in a list of assets, for example, or in a cash flow sheet, indeed, for a company? And the answer is cash, in this case, means very liquid assets. So I guess it includes any notes and coins that you might have at your company, at your firm premises, at your headquarters. Generally, when you have notes and coins, when you have actual money in a company premises, we call this petty cash. It's called petty cash, P-E-T-T-Y, and it's used to pay for everyday expenses of the office, right? Maybe some stationery, maybe tea and coffee, this kind of thing. So a company might have a little bit of actual cash, which we could call petty cash. Also, there'll be money in bank accounts. Now, this is obviously very liquid. It can be easily used to spend on buying things or on paying back debts. So this is a very liquid asset. So this also comes under the definition of cash in terms of a balance sheet. And then there might be some other assets some stocks and shares, some other paper, some other things that they own that are very liquid, that can be quickly turned into cash or can be quickly converted to raise your bank account balance. And then these also we could include in the definition of cash in terms of a company. So let's look at the language of exchange rates between two floating currencies. We can call these two floating currencies a currency pair. P-A-I-R, a currency pair. And one of these currencies then is the base currency, and the other is the counter currency. So we compare the base currency to the counter currency. Now there are two prices, there are two quotes in this scenario. And the difference between these two quotes, the bid price and the ask price, and the difference between the bid and the ask price, we call the buy-sell spread. So the word spread we sometimes use to refer to a range of different prices, a range of different numbers, a range of different scores. And in this case, it's all of the prices between the bid price and the ask price. So we can see from this diagram that you can get $1.1051 for each euro. So here we are talking about a decimal number, 1.1051. So remember, after the decimal point, we say each number separately. And you'll also notice that as a British speaker of English, I say O instead of 0. Now this is a habit I feel that native speakers need to get rid of. We need to stop doing. It's much better to say 1.1051. So you can get $1.1051 for each euro, but you'll often hear 1.1051. Notice as well that in this case it's an exchange rate. It's not really a price. When we give prices, of course, in dollars or euros, we only go to two decimal places. So in terms of a price, I guess in this case we would round up. We would say it's $1.11, $1.11. But in terms of an exchange rate to 4 decimal places, we say you can get $1.1051 for each euro. Another way to say it is there are $1.1051 to the euro. So in the example in this next article, Currency Pairs Explained, here we see that the quote is $1.13. The quote is $1.13 for each euro. So this is the bid quote, and it's $1.13. It's just to 2 decimal places in this case. So we can express it as $1.13. You'll notice also in this article we have these other key expressions: to appreciate and to depreciate. And these are the phrases that we use to refer to a currency becoming more valuable or less valuable over time, according to market movements. So according to the change in the graph or the chart, according to the change of the price over time due to people buying and selling these currencies on the open market. So when the US dollar becomes more valuable in relation to other currencies, we can say that the dollar has appreciated or has appreciated in value. And when a currency becomes less valuable, when you can buy less of another currency with 1 unit of your base currency, then we can say the base currency has depreciated in value, or it has depreciated. So a currency can gain value or lose value on the market on the open market according to trading activity. But a currency can also be devalued by the issuing government's central bank in order to boost its exports and to shrink its trade deficits, to reduce its trade deficits. So if it gains or loses value on the market, then we say it appreciates or it depreciates. But where it's a specific and deliberate policy decision by the issuing government's central bank, then we call it devaluation. It's a deliberate policy in order to help exports and to reduce the country's trade deficits, and we normally call this a devaluation. So here's an example in a quote from Forbes magazine in India. In 1977, India devalued the rupee by 57%, from 4.76 rupees to 7.50 rupees to a dollar. So we talked about a country's issuing bank, a central bank, and the central bank of countries control the money supply. And the easiest way to do this is to create more physical money, to print money, we often say. So let's look at some of the phrases around this phenomenon of creating money, of printing money. Now, coins, when they're created, the metallic tokens, the small metallic discs, they are forged. So the word we use is to forge. Now be careful with this phrase because, of course, to forge also means to create a fake version, to create a counterfeit or fraudulent version of something. But in this case, we also use it to create the original and valid version of money. Now, coins are forged then in a mint, M-I-N-T. So the building, the institution in which we create coins is called a mint. And banknotes are printed. They're printed using printing presses and also in a mint. And the Treasury is the part of the government, the department of the government that controls the production of this hard currency and controls, therefore, the money supply. Now, this vocabulary gives us lots of little expressions, lots of idiomatic expressions that we use in everyday life and in meetings, in discussing with our friends or discussing the financial and fiscal situation with our colleagues. So we might use some of these expressions. Abramovich spent a mint on Chelsea Football Club. So he spent so much money, it's as if he spent the entire factory that makes money, right? He spent a mint on this football club. Being a government supplier is a license to print money. So of course, if you want to print money, if you want to create currency, you need government authority, you need some kind of license to do this. So we also use that expression if you have a really excellent business plan or business model that enables you to make easy profits. We say it's a license to print money. So any enterprise that's extremely profitable, that makes lots of money, you can say this is a license to print money. How about if something is brand new? It's very new, it's in perfect condition, it looks like it's just been made in a factory, then we can say this is in mint condition. This record is in mint condition. This second-hand car is in mint condition. It looks like it's just been minted, like a fresh coin, a brand new coin that's just been produced. How about if we say that somebody is minted? Bill Gates is minted. He's extremely rich. It's as if he owns a mint, right? He's extremely rich. We also have a sentence like this, to coin a phrase. I coined this phrase. I invented this sentence. I invented this idiom or this saying or this word. I coined a new word. So to coin something in this case means to make it up, to create it in the way that coins are created in a mint, in the way that coins are forged in a mint. They're printed, in fact, and they're stamped, I should say. The banknotes are printed, and the coins are stamped or forged or created in the mint. And remember, we also can talk about coinage. So when you talk about the subject of coins in general, then we're talking about coinage. So that's the end of the section on foreign exchange and currency. I hope you feel a bit more confident with the difficult and confusing vocab that we have in this sector, and that now you'll feel that you can use it better and understand it better in meetings and in conversations.